Well, thanks for staying with us. This is Business Nigeria, the second half of the show. And of course, we're going to focus on something very, very interesting as Nigeria grapples with unemployment, poverty, and other challenges. It is cheering that e-commerce platforms are beginning to open up opportunities for young Nigerians in the country to explore their talent, thrive, as a recent report points to job creation as the largest benefit of Africa's growing digital economy. This development has made the sector to continue to rise, recording the second largest e-commerce market in Africa, coming in just after South Africa. Despite the growth and desirable shifts recorded, it is imperative to note that the country must not lose sight of the fragmented nature of its retail market. Small businesses are still heavily dependent on informal channels. And to dissect this and have an assessment of the performance of the e-commerce sector in the first half of 2022, as well as the prospects for growth, I am now being joined virtually by the Managing Director of the Bisi Akintayo Consult, Mrs. Akintayo. She joins us live now from Lagos here. Thank you so much, Mrs. Akintayo, for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Let me begin on a lighter note. Just why e-commerce for you?
Okay, for me, one of the reasons why I ventured into e-commerce was because when I looked around and looked at every sector and I had to do my market research, I discovered that e-commerce is an industry that in the next 100 years, in the next 200 years, e-commerce has come to stay. E-commerce will, everybody's buyers personnel would move, or a good number of people who actually are into business today will move their businesses into the e-commerce space. So I discovered that the industry is actually big in terms of the market share. So for me, that was why I chose e-commerce when I was thinking of what to do, because I actually used to be a financially dependent housewife, and I always relied on my husband at the end of the month, of course, for every money which he has to give to us in the family. But the family kept growing, and I felt that I needed to be a part, I needed to contribute. And I had my goals, I had my vision, which of course I wanted to achieve, and I could not just rely on him doing all of that for me. So I just wanted to be a financial helpmate. And when I did my research, I discovered that the e-commerce space was going to be it for me, because it's a trillion-dollar industry which has not been fully harnessed. Even now that we have a whole lot of people, it seems in quotes that we have a lot of people into it, but the e-commerce space is still not as utilized as it will be in the next decade. So that was why I chose e-commerce.
All right. I mean, lovely background. I would have loved to hear more about, the housewife story, but let's not go there. Let's stay with business.
Okay.
Yes. So, but
honestly, but
yes,
for me, I always tell people.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I don't want us to delve into. Let's stay with business, Mrs. Akintayo.
Okay.
So, what's your assessment of the e-commerce sector in Nigeria in very recent times? And perhaps walk us through just how crucial was the COVID-19 pandemic critical to the growth of that sector?
Yes, the e-commerce space in Nigeria now, if you're thinking that you keep waiting for the government to do something for you, trust me, you're still living in an imaginary world. Rather than stand up and face the reality that there's so much opportunity right now in Nigeria. During the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, the e-commerce space in Nigeria is not what we have right now. Just in the year 2021, the e-commerce space in Nigeria alone actually did over $6.9 billion US, and which made Nigeria to rank as the 33rd largest market in the e-commerce space in the world. Now, we're talking about the same country that has been seen as a country whereby a lot of people are complaining about poverty, a lot of people are complaining that there's no job, a lot of people are complaining about so many things, still ranked as the 33rd in the year 2021. And this same industry, which is the e-commerce sector, is still going to rank in the year 2025. It's projected that the e-commerce space in Nigeria would have even doubled by the year 2025, just in a couple of about 3 years' time. Meaning in the year 2025, Nigerians alone would have done over 12 billion US dollars in the e-commerce space. Now, this is to tell anyone listening to this right now, if I am not in the e-commerce space, you don't need to have 10 million Nigerians buying from you. All you just need to ask yourself, if we have a population of over 200 million in Nigeria, and we have over 76 million individuals who actually use the e-commerce space to do one transaction or the other and keep using this platform to either make money for themselves or to actually buy one product or the other, how can I actually allow the 0.03% in this same population of people who are going online to shop, buy from me? How can I get them to get my product? How can I get them to get my service that I am offering at this moment? How can I allow myself to be visible? How can I position myself online such that I am the go-to person when it comes to this particular industry that I am into at the moment, this particular service or product I am offering at the moment? How do I just get a percentage of these people to begin to patronize me, to begin to shop from my store or to get my service? Now, this is what I feel people should be looking at, because if a particular sector, a particular industry is projected to be 12 billion US dollars, that is a signal. And if this same Nigeria that a lot of people are complaining about is ranked 33rd among over 100 countries, then that should send a signal that e-commerce space in Nigeria is not something we should overlook. So if you're a business owner and your business right now is not in the e-commerce space, if you're a business owner and your business is actually still using the traditional method of doing business, then this should send a signal to you that you are leaving a big market share for some other people who are taking advantage of this e-commerce to actually run their businesses. So the e-commerce space is still evergreen right now in Nigeria. The market share is still wide enough. And I tell a lot of people who actually are thinking that, oh, you know what, there are a lot of people doing this, a lot of people doing that. Guess what? That will always be there. What you should ask yourself, how do I stand out? How do I brand myself? How do I position myself such that my targeted audience, who I am targeting, will know that I have come to stay, and I actually offer a different market value that you will not get somewhere else. Just like we all are using different smartphones. Very soon, the next iPhone will be out. Guess what? There's a reason why some other people would choose to buy iPhone other than to buy Android phone. No matter how expensive iPhone might seem to be, people will still be drawn to buy it any day, anytime. So what makes them have that same mindset? Is it not doing the same thing other Android phone is doing? Is it not able to make calls? Is it not able to send messages and take pictures? Some Android phone also has very good camera or whatever you want to say. But there's something that there's something about the iPhone. They always stand and want to be number one in their industry. So why don't you say to yourself, if I am using the e-commerce space, my aim, my goal is to be number one in this industry. I don't care how many people are in this industry. I just want to stand out. I just want my business to stand out, because if this same business has done this amount of volume in the year 2021, over 6.9 billion US dollars.
I know that if I allow you, you would go on and on and on. But because I need to squeeze in some questions here as soon as possible, as fast as possible, talk to us about issues around the cultural barriers. I mean, I think that may be one of the factors mitigating against that particular sector. Issues around cultural barriers, issues around just how secured is doing business online.
Yes, that's a very good question about security. When it comes to security, about cyber security, when you're doing business in the e-commerce platform. But I always endeavor to tell people, before you go into a particular industry, make sure you do your research. I know how you can actually cope the challenges. There's no business you want to do that doesn't have its own challenges. Every business has its challenges. So it depends on the kind of business you're doing. You can, of course, employ, we have a lot of people in the tech industry who can actually make sure that your website, when people are trying to check out on your website, there are a lot of things they can put in place that would not allow loopholes to be there, such that there's issues there in and there out. And of course, there's also maybe one or two persons always checkmating that for you. But in your own case of also buying online, getting a service or a product online, for a lot of people who are still a bit skeptical and scared about using their bank details online, I always say to them, you can have a particular account whereby you don't use, it's just for your online transactions only. And if you are that individual who is scared of buying things online, but I've been doing a lot of transactions also using my card online, and I've never been scared, neither have I been scammed. And sometimes we attract what we are scared of most times. So I tell people that just also find a person who can actually guide you through the process. If you don't have any idea, you are that kind of individual who is still so scared of, because if you keep living in fear, guess what will happen? Other people will come make money out of the same business you're scared of. So rather than live in fear, just go ahead and do it. And in the process of doing it, getting started, you get better and you know more of the things you need to do. But above all, get somebody who has gone ahead of you to put you through.
Absolutely fascinating. And then, of course, there are also issues or challenges around power and issues around network as well, which for some persons, it limits their performance. So how attracted they are to doing business online.
Like I said earlier, there is no business devoid of its own challenges. So you just have to look for how to overcome these challenges and, of course, be able to know how you can work with your time and endeavor that you do your business online. In as much as a lot of people are complaining about power, they are complaining about data. Guess what? Years ago, data was not as cheap as it used to be, that as much as it is right now. It was quite expensive. Smartphones were expensive. Not everybody have access to it. The same people who are complaining about data being a bit expensive right now will still be the same set of people watching skits for hours using the same internet. But when it comes to using your internet to do business, is expensive. When it comes to watching things that won't add to your business, it becomes not expensive or inexpensive at that moment. So for me, data is quite cheap now. You need to look for what particular data or what particular network, so to say, works in your environment. So if you're in an environment, MTN doesn't work well, then switch to Glow. You don't have to say, oh, I love MTN. Switch to Glow, because you need to make money as well. So personally, I have about
Mrs.
3 different
we cannot mention some of those brands. They will have to pay for it. This is business.
Absolutely.
All right, but let me also as well ask you about issues around the policies by government. For instance, there have been calls. The government of the day at some point had banned Twitter, and that contributed to how some young people do businesses online. So issues around regulations or having a regulatory body to ensure some kind of orderliness, so to say, on social media platforms, for instance. What's your take? What's your perspective?
Okay, thank you for that question. Yes, we know there is a lot of regulations as regards government, and for those people who are watching and, oh, yes, I want to do e-commerce in Nigeria, but the country is not encouraging. It's not just about Twitter ban, even your debit card, there's a limit you can use to do some transaction online. And these are some challenges that a lot of Nigerians also are facing when it comes to doing business online. And apart from the debit card issues, you still have a couple of other issues which I might not be able to mention due to time here. But for me, there's always a way out. When there are challenges, there is always another way. Now, if you have issues with Twitter, we have other social media platforms that the government hasn't banned. Use them. Don't focus on, and these platforms are also big in helping us promoting our businesses as well. If you're having issues with debit cards, then do your research. Some other people are still doing businesses in Nigeria using cards. How are they doing it? What are they doing? How are they going about it? So it's because sometimes we are we become like our own boss of knowledge. We become like a professor in our own way, that we've known everything and we stop doing research. So for me, I'm big on having more knowledge, going out to make sure that every month there's something I am adding to myself when it comes to personal development, when it comes to my field. I keep learning. So a lot of people get to a stage whereby they stop learning. So if you keep learning, you discover that when there's a challenge that comes, via your quest to want to learn more, you find solutions along the way, because there is nothing you want to do except the easiest thing to do in life is to become a poor man. But if you are hungry for success and you have a strong why, no matter the challenges that comes along the way, you don't see them as challenges, you see them as solutions. And I always tell people, when you have challenges, see it as an opportunity to make money, because what happens is that problems always follow or accompanies money. But if you see it as a problem and you keep complaining, you will never find solution. But if you see and find out, how can I create solutions to problems? Guess what? You take advantage of whatsoever problem that might be happening at that moment, and you give value. And at the end of the day, it's exchanged for you in terms of value. But when we keep looking at the challenges and the problems, we never actually overcome it. So if Twitter is an issue, move to other, has been banned in Nigeria.
Right.
Let's move to other social media platforms
Yes.
that are big enough to also get
So
us
I was,
that market share.
yes,
that
so
we
I was
want.
just saying that perhaps we may need to arrange another segment for you to motivate Nigerians. But finally, before I let you go, I mean, considering the realities on ground at the moment, I wonder what your growth prospects or projections are for the second half of 2022. I mean, the numbers and stats don't lie at all. You said we are second after South Africa. We are 24th in the world in terms of e-commerce. The numbers don't lie. But what do you see in the second half of 2022?
Yes, the second half of 2022, for me, it's actually a season whereby people really have to open up their eyes. In case people have been shouting it and not taking advantage, and you're sitting down, you're still waiting, and you have a good smartphone and you're doing nothing with it. There are a lot of business opportunities out there that there's nothing you can't sell on the e-commerce platform. There's basically nothing. But a lot of people have become mentally lazy and feel that, you know what, this, I'm not called out for it. But if you count all the things or list all the things you need money for, then you discover that that should be a why for you to go ahead and start. The second, this 4 months left in this year, 2022, the projection globally, it's about $5.5 trillion. But I'm even saying that right now, we can exceed that projection because the buyer's personnel is actually increasing by day.
All right.
Just like somebody's watching this and the mind is changing, that, you know what, I need to get started. I need to put that knowledge I already have into a course and begin to start my e-commerce business. I need to start importing. If you think that, oh, maybe freight is the issue, guess what? You have left that market share for somebody who feels that, you know what, people are scared of importing right now, but I am actually I'm actually getting their clients who they have refused to sell to. So if you keep feeding your fears, what happens is that you will never get started.
All right.
So for me, this last phase we are going to is a season whereby so many people are going to come out as millionaires. Some are going to come out as billionaires. You just need to know where the money is going into. Yes, we understand that there's inflation everywhere, but guess what? In as much as there's inflation, this e-commerce industry will not notice inflation because the money is leaving other sector, coming to the e-commerce field. So if you're not in it, then there's something you're missing out big time.
All right. So perhaps we'll join you on the other side of e-commerce, Mrs. Bisi Akintayo, Managing Director of the Bisi Akintayo Consult. Thank you so much indeed for this fascinating insights and, of course, your perspective.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.